What if I told you the most seductive men in the room aren't the loudest, richest, or best-looking, but the ones who say the least and notice the most? Seduction isn't a performance. It's not fireworks or flashy pickup lines. It's a silent current, subtle, instinctual, and deeply psychological. A woman who feels desire rarely announces it. She reveals it in soft fragments, a glance that lingers too long, a touch that hovers, a shift in voice that pulls you in without warning. These signs aren't accidents, they're deliberate, conscious or not. And most men, they miss them completely. Why? Because they're too eager, too reactive, too focused on trying to impress. But the Stoic man, he's different. He watches. He listens. He reads between the lines. Stoicism doesn't make you cold, it makes you composed. It gives you the power to remain grounded in the storm of attraction, to sense the dance unfolding without stepping on your own feet. And that restraint, that calm confidence, it's magnetic. When you stop chasing and start noticing, everything changes. You're no longer fumbling in the dark, you're navigating with clarity. The quietest man in the room becomes the most unforgettable. Because while others push, he pulls without saying a word. That's the secret few talk about. And once you learn it, you'll never see attraction the same way again. Have you ever locked eyes with a woman and felt like time paused, but you weren't sure if it meant anything or everything? That moment, the gaze, is one of the oldest, most intimate forms of human connection. Her eyes don't lie. When a woman desires more, she often won't say it aloud, but she'll let her gaze linger just a little longer than necessary. Not accidentally, but deliberately. This is the first real invitation, but only the man grounded in stoic presence can receive it without misreading it. The reactive man stares back too eagerly, chases it with words, or breaks eye contact out of nervousness. But the stoic man, he holds it, calmly, intentionally. He doesn't overanalyze, he simply notices. He sees the softening of her eyes, the slight dilation of her pupils, the way her glance leaves and then returns to check if he's still paying attention. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't act. Not yet. Because he understands that this gaze is not a green light, it's a conversation. A silent one. A test of his awareness, his restraint, his energy. And when he meets her, look with quiet intensity, not lust, not approval, but steady presence. She feels it. Not just in her mind, but in her body. That's the power of eye contact when it's met with mastery. The Stoic doesn't just look, he sees. And in that moment, he tells her everything she needs to know, without saying a single word. Have you ever noticed how some women don't say a word, yet somehow always end up right next to you? That's not a coincidence, it's communication. Proximity is a language all its own, and when a woman wants to be closer to you, physically, emotionally, energetically, she doesn't ask. She positions. She finds ways to sit near you, brush past you, linger in your orbit. Most men overlook it or assume it's accidental, but the Stoic man sees it for what it is. A signal, a quiet invitation wrapped in subtle movement. He notices how she stands just close enough for him to feel her presence, how her body angles toward his, even when there's room to turn away, how during a laugh she leans in not just out of habit, but to feel something shared. The reactive man misreads it, rushes it, destroys the moment with neediness or assumptions. But the Stoic man, he stays rooted. He observes. He allows her closeness without chasing it, lets the moment stretch without smothering it. His stillness becomes an anchor she instinctively trusts. Because while most men try to move in, the Stoic understands the power of letting her come to him. And the more grounded he remains, the more magnetic he becomes. Her proximity is not just attraction, it's a test, one she gives without words, and one the Stoic passes by simply standing still, sure of himself, while the rest try to prove what she already feels. Have you ever felt her touch, just a fleeting brush of her hand against your arm, and wondered, was that an accident? Or did she want me to feel that that moment right there, the one that lingers long after the contact is gone, isn't random? It's not meaningless. It's one of the oldest languages of desire touch. Long before we had words, we had hands. Hands that reached out to comfort, to connect, to communicate something deeper than what speech could carry. And when a woman desires intimacy, her touch becomes her voice. Not loud, not obvious, but soft, intentional, lingering. And only the man who's truly present will notice it for what it is, a whisper of want, disguised as coincidence. Touch activates something primal in the human brain. Just a graze across your skin triggers the release of dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, the body's cocktail of trust, comfort, and pleasure. But here's what separates the ordinary man from the Stoic, while most react impulsively to physical contact. The Stoic man doesn't jump to conclusions. He doesn't lunge or flinch or overthink. He remains still, calm. He feels it and lets it land. Because not all touches are equal. There are touches that bump by accident, and then there are the ones that seem accidental but aren't. The brush of her hand against yours that lasts just a fraction too long. The way her fingers linger on your arm while she laughs. The way she leans in to speak and her shoulder gently rests against yours as if by chance. And it's not just about whether the touch happened. It's how it happened. The quality, the timing, the context. Let's explore the different ways women use touch to test, invite, and reveal desire. 1. Incidental grazes that aren't accidents. Picture this. You're sitting side by side, maybe at a bar, a couch, a small table. She reaches for her glass and her fingers graze your forearm, just lightly, just enough for you to notice. Then she keeps talking as if nothing happened. Most men wouldn't even register it, or worse, they'd react immediately, move closer. Touch back too soon, but a Stoic man knows this isn't a cue to act, it's a cue to observe. 1 touch means little. 2 touches, that's a pattern. And when those accidents happen more than once, especially in emotionally charged moments, after laughter, eye contact, or a story that reveals her vulnerability, that's when you know it's a signal. She's testing, gently, carefully, seeing if you're aware and if you're grounded enough not to fumble. 2. Anchoring touches that root. Her to you. This is when she places her hand on your arm, not just in passing, but while she's saying something important. Maybe it's to emphasize a point. Maybe it's to steady herself while laughing. But either way, it's purposeful. She's claiming space on your body, establishing contact in a way that blends comfort with flirtation. And you'll feel it. It's not intense or aggressive, it's grounding. It says, I trust you. I feel safe here. I want to stay in this moment with you. The Stoic response. Let it be. Don't lean in. Don't grab her hand. Let her feel your stillness, your calm energy. Let her lead this dance while you become the frame she anchors to. Because women don't just want connection, they want to feel a man's stability in that connection. And if you flinch, rush, or chase the moment, it shatters the very thing she was starting to build. 3. Playful pushes that signal chemistry. Playful defiance often includes physical gestures, light nudges, taps on the shoulder, or even a sarcastic shove when you say something bold. On the surface, it looks like teasing. And it is. But underneath it, there's a test happening. Can you handle my energy? Can you meet me at this level of flirtation without losing your center? If you overreact, laugh too hard, push back too quickly, or turn it into something crass, you break the rhythm. But if you smile with calm confidence, maybe raise an eyebrow or offer a subtle, witty retort, you pass. She's not just pushing you physically, she's pushing emotionally too. She wants to know if your presence is strong enough to hold playful tension, and physical contact becomes the stage where that energy plays out. 4. Lingering contact, the strongest signal. Yet now here's where things deepen. This is when she touches you and doesn't immediately pull away. Maybe her hand rests on your knee during a shared laugh. Maybe her fingertips trail along your wrist as she talks. Maybe when you brush shoulders, she doesn't move, doesn't flinch, just stays. That lingering, subtle but unmistakable is her giving you permission to feel her presence. But still, the Stoic doesn't leap. He doesn't rush to make a move. He lets the silence stretch. He lets the connection breathe. And in doing so, he becomes more attractive. Because now she's not just interested, she's drawn in. 5. Reciprocal touch and the power of restraint. There's a fascinating neurological principle called reciprocal touch. The idea that when someone touches us, our brain instinctively prepares to return the gesture. It's an automatic reflex tied to empathy and social bonding. But the Stoic man breaks the reflex. He delays his response. He lets the moment simmer. Why? Because when you don't immediately reciprocate her touch, you send a powerful message: I am not ruled by impulse. I respond, but I choose when. This restraint creates an emotional tension that's irresistible. She's touched you and expected a mirrored response. When it doesn't come right away, curiosity kicks in. Mystery builds, and your calm control becomes the very thing she can't stop thinking about. You're not just present, you're deliberate. And in a world where most men are reactive, that alone sets you apart. 6. What not to do. Avoiding desperation and disconnection. Many men either jump the gun or miss the moment entirely. They either respond with too much eagerness, grabbing her hand, escalating too fast, or they freeze, afraid to do anything at all. Both are mistakes. Desperation kills attraction, and cold detachment makes her feel unseen. The Stoic path is balance: be fully aware without being needy. Be warm without trying too hard. Let her touch linger without clinging to it. Hold your frame and let her feel your centeredness. This subtle difference is everything. Because when a woman reaches out physically, what she's really testing is your emotional steadiness. Can you remain calm under pressure? Can you handle closeness without losing yourself? Can you experience connection without becoming dependent on it? If you can, you've already passed the test. 7. Touch as a gateway, not a destination. Remember, her touch is not the final signal, it's an opening. The goal isn't to take her hand and assume she's yours. The goal is to notice the gesture and let it inform your energy. Maybe you slow your voice. Maybe your gaze deepens. Maybe your posture softens slightly, just enough to show presence, not pursuit. Women don't want to be won. They want to feel chosen by a man who is already whole. So let touch be a beginning, not a conclusion. Let it unfold naturally as trust builds and comfort deepens. And know that the deeper she feels your calm presence, the more she'll offer those touches willingly, repeatedly, confidently. Because she'll sense it too, you're not like the others. B-E-8. Final insight: touch reveals her and refines you. Touch is sacred. It's one of the most instinctive, intimate, and emotionally charged forms of communication we have. And when a woman uses it to test or draw near, she's revealing not just her attraction, but her trust. Your job as a Stoic man isn't to capitalize on that moment. It's to honor it, to stay present with it, to let it shape your response, not drive it. And in doing so, you elevate the interaction from something physical to something meaningful. This is the art of masculine composure. This is how you move differently. How you stand out in a world full of men who try too hard, move too fast, or think too little. She doesn't want a man who just knows how to touch. She wants a man who knows how to feel and still remain in control. The subtle touch is not about sex. It's about safety, energy, depth, power. And when she gives it to you, what you do next will tell her everything she needs to know. Have you ever noticed how her voice changes when the world fades and it feels like she's speaking only to you, even if you're surrounded by a crowd? That's not just conversation, it's chemistry. When a woman desires deeper connection, her voice subtly shifts. It becomes softer, warmer, slower. Almost like she's building a cocoon around the two of you, a private space where intimacy can bloom without words ever saying too much. This isn't coincidence, it's instinct. Psychology confirms that when attraction rises, vocal tone lowers. It's her subconscious drawing you in, inviting closeness not through volume, but through vibe. She might tease you with a playful lilt or speak in a hush that makes you lean in just to hear her. The reactive man mistakes it as mere flirtation and rushes to respond. But the Stoic man, he listens not just to the words, but to the emotion beneath them. He doesn't get lost in the seduction. He anchors himself in presence. And that stillness, it deepens the connection. She feels it not just in her ears, but in her chest. Because it's rare to meet a man who doesn't try to impress, who simply is. A steady rhythm to her soft melody. A grounded presence to her emotional current. And in that contrast, something magnetic happens. He becomes unforgettable because he didn't try to chase the moment. He let it arrive and met it with calm certainty. Have you ever realized she's starting to sound like you, using your phrases, matching your rhythm, even echoing your gestures, and wondered if it meant more than coincidence? It does. It's called mirroring, and it's one of the deepest, most subconscious signs of emotional and physical attraction. When a woman begins to reflect your posture, your tone, your movements, it's her body saying, "I feel safe here. I feel aligned with you." And the beauty is, she may not even know she's doing it. It's instinctual. Her mirror neurons are firing, syncing her presence to yours. It starts subtly. She leans in when you do pauses. When you pause, her laughter rising just after yours. Then it deepens. Her voice starts to match your cadence. Her vocabulary shifts. Her expressions mirror your emotional state. The reactive man might joke about it or miss it altogether. But the Stoic man sees it as what it truly is, emotional rapport in its purest form. And rather than exploiting it, he honors it. He doesn't change to test her or push to prove a point. He simply stays authentic. Because he knows the moment she mirrors him, she's not just showing interest, she's revealing trust. She's letting go of the distance between you and I and stepping into us. And when he recognizes that, not with arrogance, but with quiet appreciation, he deepens the bond without saying a word. That's not seduction. That's resonance. And it's one of the strongest signals that something real is unfolding. In a world overflowing with noise, distraction, and superficial gestures, the true art of connection lies not in chasing attention, but in learning to observe in stillness. The lessons drawn from the subtle signs of attraction remind us that the most powerful moments are often unspoken, the way her eyes linger, the warmth of a soft voice, the electricity of a brief touch. These signals aren't just about seduction, they're about awareness. Lifelike attraction isn't about forcing outcomes or rushing into action. It's about cultivating presence, self-mastery, and the patience to let meaning reveal itself. The Stoic man isn't impressive because he reacts quickly. He's powerful because he responds deliberately. He doesn't seek validation. He embodies value. He doesn't chase. He leads with presence. This mindset applies far beyond romantic encounters. In relationships, in leadership, in growth, being grounded, observant, and intentional changes everything. It teaches us to hear what others are afraid to say, to feel what's not spoken, and to connect from a place of calm strength rather than restless desire. We often look for clarity in words, but truth lives in energy. And when you master the art of reading the world not to manipulate, but to understand, you stop being tossed around by life. You become a quiet force within it. The message is simple: stop trying to impress the world. Start listening to it. And more importantly, listen to yourself. In that space of self-awareness, connection becomes effortless. Attraction becomes authentic. And life finally feels like it's flowing in rhythm with who you truly are.